what's the difference between an own home and real estate for investment when it comes to taxes, yeah, about the revenue, about the ROI. We will not talk today, but we will talk today specific about taxes, and then see also within specific calculation from a client which recently invested with us, how we can save taxes. And also I will give you two, I would say it was for me in the last 24, maybe 36 months. It was like a breakthrough, or it was like a nice tool to decrease my tax guilt, or the tax payments what we all have actually to the government. So my first question to you, and by the way, please, it should be a dialogue, not a monologue. I mean, I can tell you something, I can show you something, but you can always ask questions. If it's a question what we can answer right away, when it's about the stuff what we are talking about, then I will answer this right away. If it's later, like we will have also a Q&A later, and then you can ask me everything what's regarding real estate and taxes. So first question to you: who's really happy about paying taxes? Is anybody of you or let's maybe a different question: who thinks we are paying too much taxes in Germany? Who thinks this? Okay, I think I will not hear anybody saying we are paying too low taxes in Germany. And I can tell you about myself. I did my first tax declaration with 17, because I started to work with 15 and a half. And what I learned, or what, if I look back to the over the last 17 years, or no, 16 years, what I can tell you, this is what you don't learn in school. And this is what I mean. There's a purpose. Why do you not learn this in school? Because it's always, the government always wants to you to pay as much as possible taxes, and it's like by your own research you can find out how to reduce your tax payments. And also if you join like a webinar, or if you give it to a tax consultant. But I always tell my clients, the best tax consultant you will find is yourself. So if you do your tax declaration by yourself, you will, I mean, you're much more in detail, like you do this more in detail. Tax consultant, as Alicia said, they're working actually for the government. And I can tell you, I also have for my business a tax consultant, but a tax consultant, like for example, my tax consultant, she never calls me and say, listen, now there's a new law, let's take let's get the advantages of this law to reduce the taxes. So it's always good to learn about that. It's always good to learn about taxes and to find out how to implement different tools to reduce taxes. But as you know, today's topic: how can we reduce taxes with real estate, especially with real estates? And also, as I said, what's the difference between real estates for your own use when it comes to tax, and real estate for investment? So I will share my screen, and I mean, what do you, or somebody of you, do you know how much percent you pay every year as tax from your salary income, from your income, your yearly income? How much percent do you pay to the government for taxes?
About 40%, right?
40%, okay. Anybody else?
About 22% as tax, as the other ones are social security benefits, I think.
22%. Okay. It always depends on how much you earn. This is it really depends on which tax class you're in, how much you earn, and I will share my screen. Somehow it doesn't work now. I will try it again. No.
That's a good question. Just is it like 40% plus Social Security, or is the 40% for everyone just included already in the 40% of Social Security?
As I said, it really depends on how much you earn. I mean, I just did it with the client from us. I did the calculation. It was around about 30% for 80,000 euros of salary income, around about 80%. And now it depends. Do you pay church tax? Do you pay church tax? And also, does it not work now? Oh, I will try. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's take 80,000 euros as an income. And as I said, 30% is what you have to pay to the government. Let's take the 80,000, 30%. It's like the average. If you are in tax class 1, maybe you know the tax classes difference are if you're married, if you have kids, and tax class 1 is if you're a single person, if you're not married. 30% would be in this case 24,000. Now the question is always how to reduce the taxes, and I think most of you did already a tax declaration, maybe, I don't know. Do you know what, without a real estate for investment or real estate for your own use, what can you use or how can you reduce this tax payment of 24,000? How can you reduce this amount?
By increasing your expenses.
Pardon?
By increasing your expenses, I believe that's part of. So, for example, if you have an apartment and then you have to do some repair work in the apartment, that's part of the expenses, and that's going to reduce the amount you earn.
That's correct, Daniel. But without real estate. Now, first of all, let's say you don't have any real estate, or you don't have no investment in real estate, and you are an employee. How do you reduce the 24,000? Which expenses can you declare to reduce this amount?
Besides health insurance and gesetzliche Rentenversicherung, besides that. Okay.
This is one point, for example. You can, like the income, like the income-related expenses, like you go to work, you travel to work, you have a business traveling, you have expenses like for your laptop, you buy books for your job. Like these expenses, these are like in German is like Werbungskosten. These are the typical one. What you can declare when it comes to the tax declaration. You can mention these expenses. I will write it down. Income related expenses. The second point is you can also the pension insurance. If you have a pension insurance like Riester, Rürup, if you have something like that, you can also reduce your taxes. Then you have like a tax allowance from a certain amount, what you can mention at the tax declaration, which reduces the 24,000. And then at the end you get the tax return, or you get the taxes back from the government. Also, you can marry. Marriage is also how you can reduce taxes. This is a tool, or you can switch from taxes number 1 to taxes number 3 or 5. It depends how you manage this, and this is how you reduce the tax burden or the tax guilt. And also the last point is if you have medical cost, medical care costs. These are the main points. If you, for example, if you take care about your grandpa, grandmother, or of your parents, you can also declare these expenses, and then you get a tax return.
Samuel, can you please add the German word, if you know it, next to the Werbungskosten?
Sure. Werbungskosten, this is the main word about the expenses. Werbungskosten. Tax allowance is the Sonderausgaben Altersvorsorge. Altersvorsorge, Heirat, yeah, I think everybody knows this word. And also we have Pflegekosten für Angehörige. Okay, these are the main expenses you can declare if you're an employee and you don't have, let's say, this, as I said, it's without a real estate, without owning a real estate. Okay. Or does anybody of you, do you mention any other cost of the tax declaration? Maybe someone of you? Okay. Like this is maybe if you know some if you have a knowledge about tax declaration, this is always in Elster. I think most of you do this in Elster. This is what you do in Anlage N. This is Anlage N is always for the income what you have from your company. Also these expenses. For example, when it comes to medical care cost or health insurance, if you have for example, if you're a freelancer, for example, you have a certain amount of 2,800 euros in a year for private health insurance, and everything above this amount, it's tax deductible. Yeah, this is like things like this. It's really depends on if you're an employee, if you're a freelancer, but these are the main, like the 4 points, these are the main expenses what you can declare. So now, we already said we would talk about real estate like taxes with real estates. But first, before we talk about how can we reduce the tax guilt with the real estate, we first have to figure out what kind of costs do we have with the real estate. And I would start with an amount of 300,000. Let's say we buy a real estate for 300,000. It's not a real estate for investment, but like it's a general real estate. Just about real estate, because the cost for real estate is always the same. If it's for your own use or for an investment, it's always the same. Do you know how much percent of site cost when you buy or when you purchase a real estate, how much percent you have to calculate when you think about investment in real estate? Does anybody know the percentage?
20%.
20%, okay. What you mean is maybe what the bank wants you to pay, yeah, a down payment of 20%, yeah. I think this is like it, yeah. It's not right now. It's not important for this calculation because here we want to know, okay, how much do you have to pay for taxes, for example, for notary registration cost, for let's say you buy this with a real estate agent for the commission. Do you have a clue how much you have to calculate right in the beginning?
We have an attendee that says 7 to 10%, and I think it's depending on the location too.
Correct.
Normally 9%.
Depending on the location.
Because it's the Grunderwerbsteuer and Notarkosten, and the other one is the broker commission.
Correct. You're correct. It really depends. First of all, let's talk about the tax, the purchasing tax. It depends where you buy this real estate. Yeah? For example, in Bavaria, you pay 3.5%. In Hessen, Frankfurt, you pay 6%. In Stuttgart, Baden-Württemberg, you pay 5%. And then in Hamburg, 6.5%. Berlin should be also 6%. It really depends in which state you buy this property. So let's take 5%. It's like not the average, but It's not the lowest, but also not the highest. Let's take the 5%. This would be 15,000 euros, what you have to calculate right now, right in the beginning. This is what the tax office wants you to pay to them. Maybe after signing the contract at the notary, you will, after maybe 6 to 8 weeks, you will get the bill, and you have to transfer this money. You also mentioned notary cost and registration cost. That's correct. We have somewhere around 1.7 to around about 2% for registration cost. Yeah, and the notary, because he signs this contract with you, because he guides you through the process, he does in the background, he manages this with the registration office, and they will have to change the name of the owner in the registration book. So this also costs money. So this is somewhere around 2%. So another 6,000 euros you have to calculate for this cost. And then also the commission for the broker. And it also depends in which location, how maybe you can, maybe you negotiate with the real estate agent, but it's somewhere around 3%. So there's a saying you should calculate an average of 10% for the site cost right in the beginning. So we have here another 9,000 euros. So we would have in total 330,000 euros. This would be the amount what you have to calculate. This is the purchasing amount included the site cost. Also, it's just like it's in the beginning what you have to calculate. Also, what we have to calculate is which cost do we have during the lifetime of this real estate. Okay. Correct. Second, you wrote down Käuferprovisionsfrei. That's correct. And by the way, we don't charge no commission, because in Germany you have to know, a broker, he can charge it from the seller and from the buyer, but we just charge it from the seller. Okay, so that's correct. Or if you find a private person which says, yeah, your neighbor, your friend, he sells to you, why should you take a broker? Why should he take a broker to sell it? So this is in the beginning what we have to calculate. And also, as I said, during the lifetime, we also have to calculate how much expenses do we have. And first of all, let's talk about how much interest charge do we have to pay to the bank. Do you know how the interest charge, what is the current interest rate in Germany for buying, like if you buy real estate, to pay the loan?
It depends on several factors, maybe the bank and the situation of the individual and the region or the state in which anybody wants to buy, and the current market. And right now, on an average, I see it's between 3 and 4%.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. We have differences, like let's say every time when we have a new client, it's a different situation. It's very, very individually. You have to know, whenever we send a profile to the bank, or you go to any bank, the bank calculates your profile, okay, or they see your profile. Then they also take the property, which you want to buy. They calculate, okay, is the apartment worth it, this price? And then also it depends on the market situation. Yeah, right now the interest charges there since 1.5 years. They are quite, they're on the same level, but it's somewhere around, it really depends. Also, if you pay a bigger down payment, or let's say you ask not for 100%, in this case for 300,000, but maybe for 250,000, because you do a down payment of 50,000, then you also get a better interest charge, because the interest charge is also like a risk parameter for the bank. The bank wants to if the risk is very high for the bank, that you with the apartment and with your profile, the interest charge will also be higher. So let's calculate with an average of 4%. I think this would be and fair average what we can take right now. 4%, it's somewhere on 3.5, also 4.8%. For example, for me, as a freelancer, or not a freelancer with as a self-employed person, for me, I will not get 4%. I will get somewhere around 4.6, 4.7, 4.8%. Yeah, because for the bank, if me as a person, I'm like a higher risk for them. And for employees, it's always easier. So let's calculate the 4% out of 300,000 would be 12,000 euros in the first year, what you have to pay as a fee to the bank because you borrowed the money. Okay. So this is what you have to pay to the bank. And now let's collect the cost which we have with the real estate, if it's for investment or for your own use, which cost we have separate from the bank, like you pay this the amount to the bank every month. Which expenses do we have with the real estate?
Always or sometimes?
Always.
Okay.
Always and sometimes.
A one time or per month? Okay, this here, Krishna is on.
Steuer. Correct.
Yeah.
Grundsteuer. That's correct. Grundsteuer is the tax what you have to pay because you own a real estate in Germany, and you have to pay this every third month. Yeah? And it depends on how big your land, how big your property is, and in which region, in which city. And you always have to pay every third month the Grundsteuer. That's correct. What else? What else do we have to calculate?
Srikanth says Hausgeld.
Hausgeld. If you buy a property in a building, let's say with 5, 6, 10 units, and you have a management which takes care about this building, you also have to calculate Hausgeld. What's included in the Hausgeld? In the Hausgeld is included the umlagefähige Kosten. This is the German word, like the cost what you also, if you would have a tenant, for water, housekeeping, for gas, for electricity provider, for garbage, things like this. This is like the tenant's cost. Yeah, what if you live in there, or if you just give it for rent, the Hausgeld has to be paid to the management. Also, part of the Hausgeld is, for example, a maintenance savings. Okay, maintenance savings, and also management cost. Yeah, management cost. Also bank account fee. Because the management has to create a bank account for you, or they have like a bank account with sub bank accounts, and this costs also money. It's a very small amount, but things like this, these fees we have to mention here. What else? What else do we have?
Insurances. If it's not a must, I mean, some people opt to have life insurance when they buy a home to
Correct.
should a spouse is covered. So Rechtsschutz could be included. Yeah, this too. Berufsunfähigkeitsversicherung could be included too. Disability insurance in case. This is what most people take when they buy a home.
Insurances, that's correct, for 100%. Insurances. If it's an insurance, let's say you buy a property for an investment, you give it to a tenant, and he lives in there. There is an insurance. A lot of people don't know you can cover the risk that the tenant is not paying anything anymore to you. This is an insurance. Also, the building insurance. If you have a management, they take care about this. Yeah, but insurances for sure. This is an expense we have to calculate. Hausratversicherung is something it's not a must-have, but it's nice to have. Yeah, Hausratsversicherung, Haftpflichtversicherung, things like this we also have to mention. So in overall insurances. Okay, what else? Maybe not monthly. I hope not monthly. Also maybe not yearly, but renovation cost.
Yep.
Renovation cost. Yeah, what we have to calculate. You want to renovate your kitchen, you want to paint the apartment, you want to change the floor. Everything like these costs we also have to think about in future. These, I would say, these are the main costs. If we know more cost later on, we can add it, but these are the main costs we have with the real estate. On the other side, we also have to pay to the bank, but the side costs, these are the side costs what we have to think about. If you buy a house or a building for your own use or for an investment, it does, like, there's no difference. You always have to think about these costs. But the question at this point is, which costs are tax deductible when it comes to an own home? You see on the left side an own home, and real estate for investment real estate. Okay, let's see which points of these are tax deductible. Do you know, or do you know which of these costs are tax deductible if you live in this property? Oops, I will go up again. Which costs are taxable if you use this property by yourself?
Krishna, the handwork, it's true. Handwerker, oder? Der Klassiker. Krishna, do you own an own home? It seems like.
Do you know what is the maximum of cost you can declare if you have your own home and you do your tax declaration? You're right.
Depends.
Yeah.
Sorry. It depends if I use it for myself or if I rent it.
No, if you use it by yourself, it's your own home.
If I use it for myself, I believe in Germany I don't get any benefit from the tax.
But you just wrote handworker. Is this correct?
I didn't write it.
Okay, you didn't. Okay, but Krishna, you have to know, and this is the difference. If you live in the property, Krishna is right, handworker, handyman cost. But there's a maximum. I will write it down, handyman cost. And I'm not talking about material for renovation. I'm not talking about other investments like furniture or whatever. It's just the bill, what he sends you for the work. The maximum is 1,200 euros in a year. Okay, this is the maximum. Now, and this is the only cost which is tax deductible when it comes to real estate, which you use for your own, where you live in. What's with the real estate for investment? Which costs are tax deductible when it comes? Which cost can you declare?
I think you can declare all of them when it comes to renting out. So insurance, renovation, Grundsteuer, Hausgeld, everything can be tax deductible.
You're right. Grundsteuer, like the tax, property tax, first of all, this is what the tenant pays. You have to get the side costs from the tenant, like you get cold rent, warm rent. You get the side cost. You have to pay this to the tax office, the Grundsteuer, but this is something you don't pay as the owner. If you live in this apartment, you have to pay. Okay, but if you give it for rent, the tenant has to pay. Hausgeld, let's separate this. That's why I did here the separation. The tenant's cost for water, heating, garbage, this is what the tenant has to pay, not you as the owner, but the maintenance savings, this is the only part what you cannot declare because this is a maintenance savings. This is an amount which will be saved on the bank account at the management, and this is an expense for the future, or it's an investment for future in case something happens with the building, or they want to invest in the heating or in anything else. This is not tax deductible. Management cost for 100% tax deductible. This is something you as the owner has to pay, but you can declare this at the end of the year or in the beginning of the next year. Insurances, yeah, for 100%. Insurances. Also renovation costs. I'm not talking about 20% or 20% of the handyman cost, but not maximum 1,200, but everything. Material, handyman cost, furniture, anything what you buy for this property. I can tell you I have a lot of furnished apartments. Even my my Wi-Fi box, yeah, Wi-Fi box. Everything what I buy for my properties, tax deductible, because I give it for rent. Why is it like this? Because it's like a company. You make money with this property. You also have expenses, so you can declare everything. When it comes to insurances, as I said, there are insurances which covers the risk of the tenant is not willing to pay anymore. These insurances are tax deductible. All the other insurance which are connected with this property are tax deductible. Not only this, but also the interest charge what you pay to the bank. This is also for 100% tax deductible. Okay, that's why you as a house owner or property, if you buy a property in Germany, you always get in January or February, you get like a statement from the bank where it says, listen, this is what you paid last year for interest charges. It's the fee for the loan. So this is what you can always use for the tax declaration. Not only this, but also every way to the property. The same like if you go to your company to work, 30 cents for 1 kilometer. Every kilometer you travel. I just did with a client of us, I think it was yesterday, we did a tax declaration. They came by the train, they booked a hotel, they went by bus, things like this, for 100% tax deductible. These are expenses which you have with the property you give for rent. Okay, all the small amounts, I will write it down. Small amounts like traveling or hotel, hotel, traveling. All these amounts are tax deductible. Okay. Does anybody has a question about these points here?
Not a question, Samuel, but about the depreciation cost.
This I didn't mention this for purpose right now because we will come to this point now, and this is one of the biggest tool, or one of the biggest reason why it makes sense to invest in real estate. But yes, you're right. I can already write it down. The depreciation, I will write the German word AFA, depreciation cost. Yeah, because the building is getting older and older. This depreciation is tax deductible. Okay, but we will come to this point now. Depreciation. Can anybody of us explain what a depreciation is?
Over the time, the value of the property goes down. So that is, basically we invested, let's say 100 euros, and next year it goes down to 95 euros. And over maybe in 10 years time, the property cost comes down to less than 50% or something like that. This is the depreciation of the amount that we invested on this property. And yeah.
Right. The depreciation calculation, actually, the background is, what if because of the age of the apartment, what if the value goes down? Question is, will the value go down? Did the value go down in the last 20, 30, 40 years? I would say no. Yeah, but the depreciation is one of the biggest tools in Germany. And I always compare this with my iPhone, with my laptop. let's say I bought this phone to make money with. I buy this phone to make videos for my Instagram, to sell something, a product, or I use my phone to call my clients. I bought this phone for 1,500 euros. You have to know every item you buy to make money with has a depreciation time. An iPhone, electronic device, somewhere around 3 years. There's specific timelines, what you can Google. Vacuum cleaner, 5 years. I've like a phone, 3 years. Everything, every item you buy has a depreciation time. So let's say we have 1,500 euros, 3 years, it would be 500 euros in a year for as a depreciation. Okay. So now a real estate has also depreciation, and the depreciation never stops if you sell the property or if you buy a used property. Yeah. So the depreciation, the official or the let's say let's say most of the properties which we have in Germany, they have a depreciation time of 50 years. And I would like to calculate this with you because the depreciation is only for the building part. So now we calculated a few minutes ago the total cost for a property in if we have a purchasing price of 300,000, we have 330,000 included the site cost. Okay, so now this 330,000 is important for the depreciation because it's not only for the 300,000, but we take always the site cost on top, 330,000, and from these 330,000 we have a percentage of maximum 85% for the building parts. Now it depends if you write this building part already in the purchasing contract, and the 15% is for the ground. Yeah, so you have to know the 85% is for the building part, kitchen, floor, bathroom, house. This is the building part, and the 15% is for the land where the building is on top. So the 15%, there's no depreciation. If the building is on top or not, the land will be there. Okay, so if we calculate now here 330,000, we take 85%, would be 280,500 euros. This would be the building part of the property. And now it really depends, or let me ask you this question. Do you know the differences, or are there differences between the depreciation percentage of the buildings in Germany? Do you know the differences? Seems no.
I think it depends on the year in which it was built.
That's correct, Daniel. It's been a long time you had the consultation with me, but nice that you remember this point. It really depends in like which building year, from which year the building is. Like let's say the building is from the year 1925. I will write it down, 1925 or older until 1925. We have a percentage of 2.5% times 40 years.
Samuel, is this the reason why, for example, real estate in Leipzig, like Denkmalschutz, have so many tax advantages because of this reason? Is this the law behind it?
Correct.
Because
the building is older, we have this monumental building, and this is also separate. I mean, there are really different percentages. For example, you can have it for 9 years, 7%. And then, yeah, it really depends on the state. It really depends on the building. But if you don't have a monumental building, if you buy a building from the year 1920, 1922, you have 2.5% times 40 years. Now, most of the properties in Germany are built after 1925. Here we have 2% times 50 years. 50 years. I'll write down a different color. 50 years. So this would be after 1925. Now I already read the argument depends also on the building. It falls under KfW 40 or KfW 55. That's correct. If you buy a property or if you build a property right now with sustainable heating or energy, with the isolation, with the Wärmepumpe, all these stuff, KfW 40, KfW 55, you get also like a subvention from the state or from the government. Then you have 7% for 4 years, and then it goes down to 2% for the last 36 years. Okay, so the maximum, or in total, it cannot be more than 100%. As you see, 2.5% times 40 years is 100%. 2% times 50 years is 100%. Okay, this option I will also write it down here. 4% or 7%, it really depends, times specific timeline, times years, but maximum 100%. So there's a saying, the building part is for 100% tax deductible over a certain amount of years. Okay, so now this is about the depreciation. I hope everything got it. If it's Massivhaus or Fertighaus, it doesn't depend. Okay, but it depends on the KfW 40, KfW 55. There are difference. So now let's see with a specific calculation or with the calculation. Let's see. Now I see a message. I don't know.
It's just an automatic message.
Okay. So let's take this information, or let's take these amounts, what we have, and calculate how much would be a tax return with a client. I will take an example, what we currently have, and then I will give you 2 hints how you can reduce the tax bill also on top of this. So we already took the number 80,000. We know before we bought a property, or without a property, we have 24,000 euros to pay to the tax office. 80,000 is the income, the salary income. On the right side, let's take the current, or most of the properties are in this range, let's say, with 2% times 50 years. If we calculate 2% of the building part, this would be in a year 5,610 euros. This is what we can use for the tax declaration. So 5,610 euros is the AFA. I will write down here the German words. 5,610. We also calculated the interest charge, 12,000 euros if we have 4% Zinsen. Then we already figured out management cost. Okay, management cost could be somewhere around, if you have a management only for the building, if you have a management also for the apartment, it can be somewhere around 70, 80 euros in a month. Let's take the maximum 80 euros times 12, 960 euros for management cost. Management, it's also a German word, I guess. Renovation cost. Hopefully we will not have renovation costs every year, but let's say we have an average of renovation cost of, let's say, 1,000 euros in a year. Maybe after 5 years, 5,000, maybe after 10 years, 5,000. Let's say the maximum 1,000 euros of renovation cost. Also insurances. Yeah, we talked about insurances. Let's say you have insurance in a year of 400 euros. What you have, I can tell you, for example, an insurance which covers the risk if the tenant is not paying anymore, somewhere around 200 euros. Let's say you have the Haftpflicht, Hausratversicherung, Versicherungen. I will write it down, Versicherungen. And also you have traveling cost. Let's say in the beginning, it's maybe somewhere around 200 euros. Maybe during the second, the third, the fourth year, you don't travel as much as in the beginning because you don't have to visit the property, but maybe you travel back and forth. Traveling cost. And then there are also some small like flat rates for office or for phone cost, 50 euros. And also for office, like bureaucracy cost, somewhere around 50 euros. So in total, maybe 100 euros. Also what we can mention. And hotel we have, depreciation we have. Let's see how this influences the tax calculation. So first of all, on the left side, we have 80,000. Okay. Also, what we have to calculate here on the left side, an income for the apartment. What would you say for 300,000? What should be the income in a month or in a year for a building for 300,000? Somewhere around.
In which location?
It depends on what city it is.
Let's say you get a cold rent of 1,000 euros. Okay, let's say 12,000 euros in a year. So we don't have 80,000, but we also have the income of the rent. So it would be 92,000. On the right side, we have the depreciation, 5,610 plus 12,000 plus 960 plus 1,000 plus 400 plus 200 plus 50 plus 50. In total, 20,270 euros of expenses. Okay, so now we know before he buys a property or before he bought a property, he has an expense or a tax guilt of 24,000. I will write it down. I will repeat it here. 24,000 was before. Now, let's see. The new income is 92,000. Expenses, we have 20,270. So, and the new income would be after buying the property on paper, after these expenses. By the way, the depreciation is not what you pay, you just calculate, okay? So 92,000 minus 20,270. We have here, minus 20,270. We have a new income of 71,730 euros. Now let's calculate, or let's take the 30% of this amount. We have 21,519 euros. So we see this was the old tax guild. This is after the expenses, the new tax guild. So the difference between those numbers here, this would be in this case 2,481 euros. This would be the tax return what our client would have with this property. Did everybody got this? Did everybody get this calculation? Was it clear until now? Okay. Good. Now, so far so good. I think this is something you can Google and you can find out, and maybe you can do your research. Maybe your tax consultant will give you this hint how to calculate. But actually, this is a simple way how to calculate how a property for investment reduces your tax guilt. But now let's talk about two more tools. And this is something which helped me in the last 24 to 36 months to reduce my tax guilt and to get a very nice tax return. A lot of people don't know. I will go back on this page. The depreciation, there are different ways to get more depreciation. I mean, if you buy a building from 1926, 1930, you cannot make a building older than it is. Yeah, there's no chance. Yeah, you cannot increase from 2% to 2.5%. But what you can do is you can get an energy consultant which calculates, let's say you buy a property from 1970, and he calculates that the economy lifetime of this property, of this building, is not 50 years, but let's say 30 years. And he gives you a certificate for this. So you can increase from 2% up to 3, 4, 5%. Okay? A lot of people think they have to buy a new building, they have to invest in a new building with sustainable heating and so on to get a higher depreciation. Yes, you get a higher depreciation, but for 4 years, for 5 years maximum. Okay? If you buy an older building and you increase the depreciation, and I can give you and show you a lot of examples of our clients which increase from 2% to 4%. For example, the client from yesterday, we increased the depreciation from 2% to 4.76%. It doubled. Let's see if we, I will write it down here, increase the depreciation or the percentage up to a new percentage, and let's see how this influences with a small tool. Yes, it costs money, not a lot. I mean, this is something what we organize for our clients, where we help our clients to get this. We have a cooperation with the company which does it for all our clients. It's really not a lot on the free market, like on the market out there. You pay something between 1,000 and 1,200 euros. If you are interested in something like that, you can come up to me. Even if you already have a real estate for investment, I can help you with that. Or this is what my secretary does. But you really get a nice price for this. It's not a lot, and it's also tax deductible. Let's see how this, if we just increase from 2% to 4%, let's see how this influences our calculation. Instead of 5,610, we have now 11,220 euros, correct? Instead of 5,610. This means we have another 5,610 of expenses on paper. This means we have, instead of 71,730 euros, we have on paper 66,120. This means with 30% of taxation, we have 19,836 euros. And at the end, this means your tax return would be, in this case, 4,164 euros instead of 2,481 euros. With one tool, with one small investment, and this is something what we did for a lot of clients in the last months. And the maximum what I heard from my client, what he got, is from 2% to 5.88%. That's crazy. It's almost 3 times more of depreciation, what he calculated on paper. Yeah? A lot of people ask me, is it possible that let's say I own a property and I do the certificate and I sell the property to the next owner or to a client, and he takes this percentage? It's not possible. You always have to renew this. You always have, because you're the new owner, you have to apply for this, and then you have to always do. Yeah, every owner has to do this by himself with a consultant.
So it has to happen after the purchase. So
Correct.
we just, calculate that. So in our consultations, we don't include that because it's just like a nice to have in addition, because it's after purchase. But after purchase, we can make it happen.
Correct.
Sorry, Samuel, could you just explain this? What does it mean? Why the depreciation increases after getting this certificate? I mean, what are we actually declaring there?
we are declaring to the tax office that maybe you remember I just mentioned here. Oops, where is it? Here. Let's say, yeah, the most of the apartments in Germany, they have 50 years of depreciation time. Okay, 40 years if you bought a building before 1925, 40 years if you buy after 1925, 50 years. So now we are showing, or we are telling the tax office, listen, the lifetime of this building on paper is not 50 years anymore, but 30 years. So because of the decreasing of the lifetime, we are increasing the depreciation. Yeah, for 30 years, 3.3%, or 20 years, it's 5%.
Yeah, but then eventually, as you mentioned, that like then the maximum cannot go beyond 100%, right?
I mean, why should you declare more than 100% to the tax office, like the building parts? You cannot go over the 100%. It's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, I mean, instead of having this benefit for 50 long years, we are shrinking it down to 20 years, let's say, or 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we are shrinking it down to 30 years. This means automatically that your percentage in a year of depreciation is not 2%, but 3.33%.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, I get it now. Yeah.
That's actually a good question, John. What happens like after the 30 years? Do you know
And
that?
you not declare the depreciation. Yeah. Then the depreciation is over, or you cannot declare an expense to the tax.
Okay.
So you have to be aware of, if you want to keep it 50 years. And I mean, I don't know.
I'm not living that long. No, yeah.
I don't expect me living 120 years. So, and it's always up to you if you want to sell a property after 10, 20 years. I know that if I will always reduce it or I will always increase my percentage to the maximum. Yeah? I want to declare the building parts quite fast. I will sell a property, I will buy the next one.
Exactly.
Or if you keep it, then I mean 20 years or 20 years or 30 years. Even if it's 30 years, you have 3.33%. You have already more of tax return.
Yeah, because for many people, buying a real estate for an investment, like a smaller property, let's say not even 300, let's go down to 160 and 200, because we sell those properties too. They usually, like, people use it as a collateral to buy their own home, or like selling to like pay off their own home. So we use buying real estate also a strategy in the future for 10 plus years, to sell it, because after 10 years it's also tax free. That means that it's more lucrative. So I agree with Samuel on that. I would also go on the highest appreciation percentage and the shortened timeline, because you'd never know what will happen in 10 years. Maybe you're using the investment as like as mentioned, like a collateral for a bigger investment, for a bigger purchase,
And I mean, even with 2%, you have a very nice, I mean, it's a nice tool, yeah. You don't have with an own home. We don't have to forget, but this is like an add-on. This is like a bonus, yeah. If you know if you have the content, if you know how to do this, and this is something you don't learn in school. You don't read the newspaper or on Instagram. This is something, let's say, if you do your own research or if you have contact like this. So this is one tool, and the second tool is, and now I will talk really about the best situation what you can have. Let's say you buy a property, and I will just take the example of a client of me. And actually these are numbers not somewhere from any book. So these are numbers we have with the clients. And on top of this, I can tell you there's also, let's say you buy or you're looking for a property. Yeah, and I will take this example with our recent client. he had a chance, he had the option to choose between two scenarios. One scenario, I mean, I offered him a property, and this property was from 1970. And neighbor investor, like in the same building, my other client, he got for this property 4% of depreciation. Okay, what we just calculated. So I knew, okay, he will for sure get a 4% depreciation. And I offered him two scenarios. I told him, listen, I want to sell you a renovated apartment, but I will give you an option. First option would be, we do the renovation, because the apartment needs a renovation. We do the renovation, we sell it for 330,000. We sell it fixed, everything. Here you have the key, or we take care about the tenants, but here it's a totally new renovated apartment. Okay, this is one option. The second option was, I told him, listen, there's a law in Germany, 15%. If you buy a property and you renovate this property and you give it for rent, it's not if you live in there, but if you give it for rent, 15% of the building part. Now let's say the price is 300,000, and we told already 280,500 is the 85%. This is the building part. Okay, and 15% of this building part you can declare as a one-time expense at the first tax declaration after buying this property. A lot of people don't know. They say, I want to buy a totally new renovated apartment. I always give the hint, search for an option with the seller or with the developer, with the company, with the who else, like for example, like us. If we want to renovate and sell it, take the second option, because you can reduce the tax crazy. Let's calculate 280,000. And this is very important, not to go over the 280,500, or not to have a higher renovation than this. So in this case, the bill from the handyman shouldn't be more than 42,000. So now you get let's say we will be on the safe side, and we say 40,000 is the bill for the apartment. Now you ask the bank for 280,000 for the building, 290,000 for the building. 40,000 we declare as a renovation cost. And then you can use it for the next tax declaration. Now, if we take the 42,000, 15%, we take the 40,000 in here as a one-time expense. Now you calculate 30% of the 40,000 is how much? 12,000 euros, what you get right away as a tax return. This is an option. That's why I always say, before you think about, oh no, I just want to have a new building, think about the government is always, there's always like a tax benefit if you renovate an apartment. And for the renovation, you can also get very nice tax returns. Okay, this is, in this case, I mean, I can tell you this was another 12,000 euros. My client, he had somewhere around 16,000 euros, what we already calculated in the first tax declaration. Okay, 16,000 euros. What can you do with 16,000? Buy the next property. Okay. Does anybody has a question about that?
Well, yeah.
Sorry, Daniel, go on.
I actually don't quite get it. So this is something that is valid only for the first-time buyer. Like, I bought the apartment, I should go for something that I have to renovate, and then I get a possibility to lower my tax burden thanks to that. But then if I have the apartment, I cannot apply this, right? It's only when I bought it for the first time, that's when I applied.
If you already know, Daniel, you have already an apartment. Yeah, you bought the apartment, it was already renovated. Okay, it
Yeah.
was renovated from the developer time ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
you cannot. I mean, you cannot declare a bill for renovation because you already bought the property, renovated.
Mhm.
But every renovation from now on in the next 20, 25, 30 years, every renovation bill is for 100% tax deductible, as I mentioned before. Renovation. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned 1,000 average in a year. Yeah, but a renovation cost, every bill you have for handyman, material, everything is tax deductible. But if you have the chance, that's why I say, I mean, this scenario is the best scenario. Oops, where is it? This scenario is the best scenario what you can have. Yeah, and a lot of people ask me, I don't want to buy a new property which I want to renovate, or what? Where the option is to renovate. This scenario I had a few times right now. This is really the best scenario what you can have.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But for example, if I buy the apartment, I might not have the 42,000 euros to cover the expenses for renovation, so I can't really cover it. So how does this go? Is this part of the loan that I take from the bank?
In the best way, yes, and I can tell you how I managed with the client. I said, listen, do you have 40,000 on your bank account? You might invest. I would not do this. I would take the most from the bank. So what did we do? We got 290,000 from the bank, and 40,000 we did like a separate loan, also from the bank, which is also you can also use the interest charge for the tax declaration. Yeah, but we took like a private loan for this.
Okay.
Yeah, for the renovation cost. It's private loan is the wrong word. It's like Modernisierungsdarlehen. Okay, this is the German word.
Is the percentage equal to the loan, the 290?
It's higher, for sure. It's higher. It's not very high, as not 10%, but it might be 5.5, 6%, 6.5%. It depends how much.
It's acceptable still.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the good thing is it's also tax deductible. This is tax deductible, the interest charge for this loan, and also you can pay it back quite fast if you want it. If you get a bonus, you can pay back without paying any fee for paying back this amount. Yeah? But if and this is something, and most of the time you do this with a developer or with a company if they sell it to you, you can negotiate and say, listen, let's increase this price from 300,000 or this price from 300,000 up to 310,000. You pay 10,000 for a renovation, but I just need a bill with maximum of 50% of the building part. Okay, but this is really in detail, and this is something what we do for our clients to calculate. Okay, so because if it's more than 15%, it's not tax deductible. So it's a very how should I say? It's a really and very
Meticulous.
you have to be very careful to calculate this. And I could tell you, I did the calculation for my last client. I sat there because you have to calculate not to be over 15%, and you have to calculate a maximum 85%. You have to calculate the price and what we have to do with the bank. What do we ask the bank? What is in the purchasing contract? But things like this. I mean, if you have a consultant like we calculate this way. Okay. But this is really the best scenario what you can have.
Who made the other question?
Hmm?
No, there was like another question like between Daniels.
Yeah, I got a question now, to Samuel. So, I mean, one basic thing is that, like, for example, if you're buying a house from 1975 or let's say 1925, and then the regular depreciation is going for 50 years. And let's say that I am now interested in buying this particular house, which is like now roughly 100 years old. Would
Yeah.
I be able to enjoy this benefit of depreciation while I'm
Def-
purchasing this?
Yeah. It always starts, it's whenever the owners changes, it starts again for 50 years. For example, I have a building, I can tell you, one building in my portfolio, it's the oldest building. It's from 1908.
Great.
I mean, it's over 117 years. Yeah. When I bought it 2020, 2019, 2020, it started again for 50 years. Okay.
Okay,
It
glad to
doesn't.
know.
But what you have to know, and this is also, you have to be careful about that. But this is also would be another step. Now, let's say you buy, and it's just a hint, not to forget this. Now you bought a property, 2025, and 2035. Maybe you know, and this is also what Alicia mentioned. 2035, you could sell it tax-free. Yeah, and let's say you have a profit of, we take another color. Let's say the value goes up, the remaining loan amount goes down. This profit, yeah, let's say you make 100,000 in 10 years. This profit is tax-free. Yeah, that's rule in Germany. Now, a lot of people also don't know if you sell this property, and I mean, it would be really stupid from us if we don't use the tax benefits during this 10 years. Yeah. A lot of people don't know if they sell a property, let's say after 8 years, after 6 years, this profit or the tax benefits during this time, you have to pay back to the tax office. So it's always good to hold a real estate for minimum 10 years. You can sell it, and I mean, at the end, with the prices going up and so on, even if you have to, pay back the tax benefit or this benefit of the depreciation, even then you will have a profit. Yeah, but a lot of people also don't know, so that's why I always say keep it minimum for 10 years.
Yeah.
What if it is rented? I just saw, connected to what? Selling a property or?
So for example, you said 25, you bought a property and minimum 10 years, 2035. If you keep it, then it's an advantage to sell it on or after 2035. But between the time period of 25 and 35, if you don't want to sell it, rather if you would like to rent it, then
I don't
regarding the tax benefit in that case.
The tax benefits, so this is only if the apartment is rented all the time. For example, if you live if you live there, you cannot do any of this. But it has to be the case that it's rented out. And then for the timeline that you want, like either like 25, 30, 50 years. And after 10 years, when it's rented out, you can sell it. For an own home, it's no tax advantages and 3 years tax-free after living in it.
correct.
Okay. So like minimum after 3 years, it can be rented.
No, this is sorry. So if you, for example, if you live in this home, you can sell it after 3 years and then it's tax-free. You don't have to pay any taxes on the gain, on the winnings. But if you rent it out and you have all those tax benefits, and this is what we were like talking about, like that it's better to rent it out, then you have to wait 10 years to sell it tax-free.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep. Thank you.
Good. At the end. I hope I mean, it was a lot of calculation, I know, and maybe, I mean, it's also late, so I hope I didn't hit you too much with my calculation. At the end, what I can say is this. I will summarize a little bit. Buying an own home is nice. It's more an emotional decision. Yeah, you want to have your own space. All good. Yeah. Out of the way, like from the perspective of investment, an own home, when it comes to taxes, it doesn't make sense a lot. Yeah. You get really nice tax benefits within real estate for investment, especially if you have nice income, especially if you are in tax class number 1. And I just did not an experiment. I asked ChatGPT what is the best tool to reduce taxes in Germany. The first thing is real estate for investment. Yeah, just this is like that's why a lot of investors or a lot of people, they invest in real estates. Yeah, because even if they have companies, big companies, production companies, they always take the real estate as investment as a tool to reduce the taxing,
Yeah.
the income tax.
Do you know who owns most of the real estates in Germany? That blew my mind, and maybe a change. Do you know that, Samuel? I think we never talked about it. The church.
The church, actually, the biggest, one of the biggest.
That's
I don't
still,
know.
I guess.
The biggest one is, I think, as far as I know, is McDonald's.
No way.
It's already, they already have more than the Catholic Church.
Right.
And McDonald's, I don't know if you know, McDonald's is not doing burger. The company McDonald's is not doing profit with burgers. McDonald's, you can Google it. McDonald's is a real estate company.
That's
It's really interesting. You can read it. It's really interesting. They buy properties in the best location. They rent it out to the franchise, which does burgers. But the background of McDonald's is the real estate investment. It's really interesting. Good.
Yeah. I have like, so is there someone in the chat that can confirm that owns also real estate where they live on their own? I'm like curious. Let me see who was here. Does someone has already real estate for investment?
Yeah.
Right. So I hope it was helpful. So I hope it was like, if you can confirm all this, or if you say, hey, I learned something new that I can use for my next tax declaration. That's always good to hear. And Samuel, maybe you can tell a bit like how, because I know that many clients or many like potential clients come into the call to meet you from my side to see who you are, how you work. Is there something that you would like to say, how to contact you? You can always contact Samuel through me. We're basically the same. And I know that some of you already like booked like a meeting with Samuel afterwards, because each situation is individual. And what I appreciate of you, Samuel, it's also important to say that all your consultations are free of charge. There is no one is committed to like work with you. You give a lot of information. You look into each case individually and help them find the client like the right property to the right budget, because it has to be budget friendly too, it has to like it, because everything, the cool thing about this is like, while we are spendings, because I think Daniel at the beginning said that when we have spendings, but I want to shift this wording into investments, because the smart thing is to save taxes while you invest, not only create expenses. What I do as a freelancer, just going eating out, and all those things that actually don't benefit me. And I had to like shift that. So yes, Krishna, please.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I mean, So, Samuel, I have one question. So, uh, is it better to buy the investment property like privately, like as one person, or is it good to buy as a company? So, is it like to form a company and then to start buying, let's say, the properties? Which one would you recommend?
It's always a question, what's the goal? Yeah, if you want to, let's say, sell a real estate after a short time, then it's better to have a company than because you save taxes. But also as a company, it's very hard to get a loan from the bank. So it really depends what's the goal to buy with a company. But I can tell you, this is what my experience. Before you don't have 10 real estate as a private person, it doesn't really make sense to make this bureaucracy and everything with a company. Yeah. If you
Okay.
have, like, as a private person, you have more benefits. After all, the only thing is, if you think about to doing fix and flip, what I don't recommend, if you don't have no experience, just to buy a property, renovate the property and sell it. But then you also have to start totally different. You have to you have to ask for another kind of loan from the bank. So it's really individually. But I don't recommend to do this with a company or as a company, because you have more disadvantages than advantages.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Maybe then I will try to contact you later. So, I mean, I'm thinking more of the company and then flipping the house and so. So just want to get more details. Yeah. Thank you.
Even for topics like this, I'm not a tax consultant, I'm not a tax advisor, but I have very nice people around me which help me with that, also with my investments, and I can also help you with that, or we can set up a call, we can connect, and also for all the others. What do we do? What I do? I mean, now the topic today is taxes. Let's connect. You can write Alicia, and we can schedule a meeting where we find out how much taxes you can save right now. How much taxes do you, first of all, maybe to find out how much taxes do you pay. I think a lot of people don't even know this. Let's find out this point, and then let's check. Okay, how much taxes could you save with the property, or what we do in personal individual consultation. We also, I explain what's the difference between an own home real estate for investment and what's the better way. How can we? It's very individually for every client. It's very individually what's the best way. Even, I mean, because everybody has another perspective of life and also other goals. Yeah? And I wanted to say something else. We can check the tax savings, and also, by the way, tax savings is very nice, but what you don't have to forget, I just scratched the surface. You always build up wealth with real estate. Yeah, you always get a better value. Like, the value increases all the time, and but these things we can check out, and we can do individual calculation, personal in an individual call.
Yes, it would be awesome, Sam, because afterwards, because I have like over 30 attendees that couldn't make it, that you share the notes, and I have the recording, but maybe like not specific. I will send this with the recording, but Sri can ask for the notes. If you can send me the notes too, that would be amazing in a folder, and so I can share it. And please, I try to make pictures of everyone who wants certain things. Please come back to me if you contact me via LinkedIn, via email, via WhatsApp. Like, this is where people find me. Just get back to me, say, Alicia, remind me, please. No, Srikang, exactly. Send me the notes of Samuel, and I will hunt him, and I will send you the notes. And I will get in touch with you all to get feedback. How do you liked it, to get better every time? And I noticed that the webinars get more interesting too. And I wanted to thank you everyone for being in this wonderful webinar. Thank you so much, Samuel, for your time and energy. That's always so helpful, especially for foreigners like us, living in Germany and being a little bit like clueless. Yeah, thank you so much. Like, the goal is like to be smarter and build up wealth, of course.
Invest in yourself, in your knowledge.
Yeah.
And find out how you can leverage your income, or how you can increase the income and save taxes, because I will end with the same. I think we pay too much in Germany, so let's reduce this.
So
You're
I wish
welcome. Have a
everyone
nice evening and
a wonderful evening. So
Thank you both of you, Alicia and Samuel, for organizing this and for the wonderful time. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you very much for the webinar.
Yeah.
thank you, John.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Alicia and
Bye.
Samuel. Bye.
bye-bye.
Hi, Ardar. Bye, Daniel. Sandeep, you were late, but I hope that you took the best out of the webinar. Have a nice evening, Enka. Nice to see you. Let's talk tomorrow. Tomorrow, no, next week. Bye-bye.
And you, Alicia, have a nice evening.
You too, Samuel. Thank you so much. Goodbye.